Especially good afternoon. Welcome to Remote Work Wednesday. On behalf of the Remote Online Initiative and the K-State Research and Extension Community Vitality Team, several colleagues are online with us today. I'm Ron Wilson, Director of the Huck Boyd Institute for Rural Development, and big thanks to Deborah Cole, who is Program Leader Coordinator for K-State Research and Extension Community Vitality, running our slides and providing the technology for us today. This is a project of the Remote Online Initiative. You see the graphic on screen, and kansasremotework.com is the website. You can access information about the remote work program in Kansas. We're offering month-long classes in partnership with Utah State that enable participants to become certified and trained as a remote worker or a remote work team leader. Today's Zoom call is our Remote Work Wednesday series. For anyone interested in remote work, the goal is simply to learn about the opportunities and challenges of remote and hybrid work for those who choose to use it. It is a free call on the second Wednesday of each month, and we encourage you to join us. Next month, we are trying a little bit of a different experiment for Remote Work Wednesday. Our intent is to have an interview practice, basically to explore those who are seeking remote or hybrid work. What are the types of questions that might be asked that would be more specific to remote work or hybrid work? And for employers, what would be key questions for you to ask when seeking those remote workers? So we want to explore that and actually do some practice, kind of a speed dating format where we can go in small groups and actually practice some interview questions, sample interview questions from people who do this for a living, and give us some practice and experience. So we're kind of excited about that. So that's next month's Remote Work Wednesday in March. Our session today is presented by Jan Steen, our Community Vitality State Specialist, our colleague, and we see the perfect example. We know there's snow around much of Kansas and schools are closed, but remote work classes are proceeding. We can be safe and sound and warm and dry in our own setting. So we're thankful for remote work. And Jan has really experienced this. Jan is a state specialist in community vitality and really our go-to guy for so much of our technology. He has tremendous experience in working remotely. He's going to address project management and goal setting across multiple remote teams. So Jan, we'll turn this over to you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Ron and Deborah, for inviting me here today to kind of give my experience. I'm going to be talking about some of the work I've done in the past. A lot of it's learned as I've taken on the job. Some of it is best practices, but I'm going to tell you about how I do some things in my job and how I came to work remotely. So let me change over to a shared screen here. All right. And as Ron said, I'm a state specialist for community vitality here at K-State Research and Extension. And a little bit about me and the work that I do. So I live in rural Reno County, right where that star is, just outside of Arlington, Kansas, about 20 miles from Hutchinson and 20 miles from Kingman. So definitely a remote area. And I work currently for K-State Research and Extension, plan to for quite some time moving forward. I'm one of the co-coordinators of the Kansas Community Empowerment Program. You may have heard of that before as the Kansas Pride program in the past. Jamie Menon and I are the co-coordinators of that. She's based in Manhattan. I also work with community assessments for cities that come to us and say they would like to assess their needs and maybe find a place to start working on different projects. I do grant funding searches, resource identification for communities and organizations around the state. And on the back end, you don't know this probably until today, but I work on the website for the Remote Online Initiative, kansasremotework.com. And I also am the one who processes the videos and uploads those. So if you've ever gone back and watched a previous Remote Work Wednesday, I'm the one who uploaded that for you. So that's the work that I do currently here for K-State. Now, my prior work experience, I do have remote work experience before working here for Kansas State University. And in 2006, I got married and moved to Hutchinson, and I ended up working for a technology company. And I was a network engineer. And I went out on site to different places and fixed their servers and their computers and trained people how to use those computers. And in about 2008, that company decided we have a lot of offices in an 8-state region. We don't need that many offices. We would like to close some of those offices, and they closed the Hutchinson office and they closed the Newton office. And I was left with either driving an hour to work one way every day or working as a part of the managed services team. And managed services, if you're not familiar with that, managed service teams monitor computers, they upgrade computer software, security software on those computers, backups, train people how to use different software and hardware peripheral for those computers. So I moved into that team and became the supervisor for a team of 4 from 2008 to 2011. I worked remotely. The company bought me a computer, a printer, a telephone, a voice over IP telephone. They paid for my internet at home, which was great. The family benefited from that just as much as I did. And this was really before people started publishing books about best practices for remote work or building courses and websites based on that. We managed 3,000 computer systems, servers and workstations with that team of 4. And they gave us some project management software. They didn't call it project management software at the time, but looking back on it, that's definitely what it was. It was called ConnectWise, and it allowed us to see companies from initial contact through sales, installation, and then the support that we provided afterwards. It allowed us to assign tasks to people. It allowed us to enter notes, so anyone who came into that situation would know what was going on with that customer. And it allowed us to set those deadlines so we could reach our goals by a certain date. In between that job and the job that I'm at now, remotely, I was the county extension agent and county extension director at the Reno County Extension Office. And today, from 2017 on, most of my work is done in my home office, but there is some travel to campus for meetings, sometimes for different trainings. And often I go to communities to work with them, give them presentations, work with them on community assessments. I truly love working from home. Even though everybody at home, my wife's a teacher and my kids are in school, they're all downstairs watching TV and relaxing right now. I love working from home, but I also love going out to see those communities and work with them across the state. And it also gives me a chance to catch up on audiobooks and podcasts as I'm crisscrossing on the highway. So there are really 3 ways that I work on projects with project management in my job. The first one is independently. I also work with internal teams to the university and extension, and I work with external partners. So I've got some examples of some of those projects that I work on. For independent projects, one of those, I just finished one this morning for a community in Kansas, is grant searches. Somebody will reach out to me for technical assistance, tell me what their project is, how much money they're looking for, and I will do a grant search. That doesn't involve me bringing in other people from other teams. It's me doing research online with various partners and various grants databases, and then writing a report and sending it to them. So I'm able to manage that pretty well without any official project management software. I just use my calendar mostly, and I'll show you how I use my calendar a little bit later. Internal projects, that might be anything from working on our monthly newsletter with other people on our team to actually writing grants to support our program. Annual reports, we produce an annual report every year to communicate program success to our stakeholders. And that involves bringing in our communications team from the university, as well as both of us as co-coordinators. So we've got 4 people that we're working with typically on that. And if we have a student worker, we're bringing them in as well. And for external teams projects examples, that could be coordinating a board meeting anywhere in the state. It could also be working nationally. Working for a land-grant university, for an extension university in Kansas, means that we have a lot of partners across the United States at other universities. and I am sitting on the board of directors currently for the National Association of Community Development Extension Professionals. I serve that 12 yellow state region as the North Central Regional Representative, and I coordinate quarterly meetings, which involves bringing in other people to speak. I also sit on two national conference committees as part of that organization. And those teams sometimes are 30 or more people that are coming together to help plan that conference. And we need some sort of organization to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts or stepping on each other's toes. So I'm going to say probably one of the more important pieces of project management is, of course, setting those goals. If you don't know what you're aiming for, it's going to be very hard for you to develop projects and to assign tasks. Some of those goals and projects are long-standing, like our annual report that I just talked about. We've been doing that for decades. We know the end goal is to communicate those stories and successes to our stakeholders, digitally and in print. The task list to accomplish that is something that's existed for quite some time. So it's recurring, it's long existing. Oftentimes you'll be invited to a new project or realize that you have to develop a new project and set some goals for that. And if you don't already have your goal or project tasks set yet, the SMART framework is something that I would recommend going for. This is our university's SMART framework. I think the only thing different on this compared to others out there is it says on relevant for R, it says align with the university's mission and purpose. That's going to be with your organization's mission and purpose, basically. But you're looking here at is what you want to achieve specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relevant to your mission and vision and purpose? And is it time bound? Can you set deadlines and timeframes for not only the end goal, but for different tasks within that? You can plug in your tasks and projects that you have now that are long-term, long existing, recurring into the SMART framework to see if there are ways that you can improve, maybe make some adjustments to make things a little more effective. But because this provides you with a clear definition to the team of what you want to achieve and gives guidance on how to track progress, know your goals when they're reached, helps make things realistic and achievable and identifies timelines, it's part of a clear communication. So people understand what's going on and what's expected of them. So your success is going to be determined by how clearly you communicate all of those things. And I will say those initial meetings, those first meetings you have, don't have those via email. Have those via Teams or Zoom, or even if you're like me, you're working in the state of Kansas, your main office is in the state of Kansas. If you have an opportunity to get together in person, we do that sometimes with big pieces of paper and markers, and we sit down at a table and kind of mind map and then assign tasks to each other of how we're going to move forward. That's an option as well. Email does have its place. I'm going to put this graphic up here. You've probably all seen this. That meeting could have been an email. I'm going to flip this and say those initial meetings really should be meetings and not emails. Email does have its place in between those meetings that you have for communication, for clarifying things, for sharing documents, whatever you need to do between meetings. It's also a good idea to have those face-to-face or virtual meetings with people who are coming onto the team brand new. Maybe that project is right in the middle of the project, but you're hiring new people to be involved in it. Have those meetings to introduce them to other people on the team remotely, and to go over the importance of the project and your goals. Also, those meetings help you to have easier flow, sometimes for the questions and answers, and it allows you to see facial expressions or body language to determine if people are really understanding or not, and that's really important in the very beginning as you're getting started. So clear communication, again, in the beginning will save you a lot of problems over time. And setting clear expectations on who or what department is responsible for tasks and what those tasks are. Then continuing on a regular basis with remote meetings to keep team members up to date. to report that progress, to allow for questions and discussion as the project moves forward to the end goal, is so useful in the work that I've done in the past. We do that usually through Teams meetings or through Zoom meetings, depending on what you have access to. It's just a way for us to get together and see each other and share documents and progress. And I'm going to share some of the project management technology that I use, whether it's independent work for the grant searches or other small independent projects that it's just me working on something, but it still has a deadline, and also those internal and external teams. And I think Deborah is going to appreciate this next slide, probably more than anybody else, because whenever she tries to schedule a meeting with me, it pops up on her side that I'm busy. So I'm going to show you what my calendar looks like from day to day. I've blurred it out just so you can't see people's names, but this is my average weekly calendar. And my first project management tool of choice is actually Microsoft Outlook. I've been using it for decades. It's my preferred tool for those projects I'm working on independently because it's familiar to me. It's something I can maneuver through quickly. It allows me to color code entries. If I need to add a team member real quick to bring them into a meeting to ask some questions or attach some documentation to a project that I'm going to be working on, that allows me to attach those things or set up that meeting very easily in Outlook. Maybe it's something quick that I don't want to set up Trello or Microsoft Project for. I can just add people in real quick if I need to. On this example, as I said, I've blurred out the main section. You can see where they're divided, but there were some people's names on here, so I don't know if they want to be broadcast or not. But my color coding system works like this. Anything that is orange is something that I've completed already. Anything that is green is something that I need to complete. Anything that is yellow is something that is static. Like this meeting today, for example, I was relied upon to be here via Zoom. It's not something that I can move around on my calendar to make space for something else that has come up. Anything that is gray is something that's been canceled, but I want to keep record of it in case somebody asks me how a meeting went last week. I can tell them it was canceled when I go back in my calendar. And purple is our social media calendar. That's a shared calendar that Jamie and when we have a student worker and I share the tasks on that calendar so we can see what's coming up for social media posts and for our newsletter. This calendar, Outlook, also keeps me aware of the outside world, outside of my screen, outside of my work, because just in a minor convenience, at the very top, you might be able to see this on Thursday and Friday. It gives me a little bit of a weather forecast. So if I'm going to be going to a community to take pictures of some things that have been seen in an assessment, I might have to leave a little early if it says that it's snowing, or if it's really bad, I might decide to schedule that for another day. Other ways that I can keep in touch with what's happening in the outside world, and the reason that this is like this is because it's happened to me before, is I'm able to import Google calendars into Outlook. So I've got my wife's calendar set up as pink, and I've got my personal calendar set up as blue. That's so I don't accidentally schedule a meeting over the top of my daughter's Christmas concert at school, or schedule a meeting when we're supposed to be in the car headed to the airport for a vacation. So that allows me to see what's happening outside of work so I don't overstep and confuse our family's schedule. Another tool that I use, this is something that is can be standalone, or it's also something that you can get in Microsoft Teams, is Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is something that we use from time to time, especially when we do have a student worker for our fundraising efforts, for press releases and grant and award reviews in our program. It's definitely been useful when we have a student worker who maybe doesn't have the same type of schedule as we have, who may not be in the office every day or for long periods of time during the workday. It helps us keep track of progress of certain tasks and communicate when we're not all available. I've blurred out the student workers' information there. This is a picture that I pulled off in the past, but you can see there are options in here to add tasks. to assign those tasks to certain individuals and to click whether they are completed or not, how long that task is probably going to take, and you can add additional columns with additional information if you like. This is the grid view. You can also view a board view where it's more like the next screen I'm going to show you in Trello. And you can also view a chart which shows you like the percent complete of different projects. And this is Trello. Trello is another project management tool that we've utilized. I've learned about that in other professional development opportunities that I've taken on, and we've tried it before, and it's worked well. This could be standalone, or it could be added into Microsoft Teams as well if you have Microsoft Teams and your organization subscribes to it. This is another project management tool that is useful for teams with project members outside of your institution. Maybe they don't have the same access to Teams or some of the Teams resources that you do, or those who may not be very well versed in how to use Teams, or maybe Teams isn't happening to work for them on a regular basis. Trello allows you to have a brainstorm section, a to-do, a doing, and done. There are many different features there. The version that we have is basic. It's the basic version. It has all the tools that we need for doing multiple projects. And finally, one of the tools that I see used quite a bit in my work are just spreadsheets and Google Drive and OneDrive. Sometimes it's just as simple as that spreadsheet with dates and names and different tasks and who's going to be doing those tasks. And maybe they share that information along with supporting documents and folders on one of those shared drive services. When I see this, it usually comes from team members or large teams that are being assembled from different organizations in the state or different organizations from across the United States. And it's really hard to match up what those universities or other organizations have in terms of technology. So we go with the public shared drives, or not public, but shared with the people on the team, whoever has a link. And that allows us to keep track of things. Ideally, people are going to work on the same platform across the team, and not pull things out and start working on them in different platforms, so everybody knows what's happening and can keep track of things at the same time. This is great too if you're waiting on somebody. Any of these tools, if you're waiting on somebody to complete their portion of the project before you can start yours, it's a way for you to see who's involved and reach out to them and ask them how it's going with them, so you can do some planning on your own. Let me check. Has anybody asked any questions there so far? No, not yet. Okay. Let's see. So next, I'm going to go to some of the remote work tools that I use, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have about my experience or some of the remote tools, project management tools I've mentioned. It's really tools that also help me do my job and do my job efficiently. It allows me to have more time to complete other tasks and complete current project tasks more quickly. One of those is a laptop for portability. It plugs into everything on my desk. It allows me to use it as a workstation, but it also allows me to take it on the road if I need to. It also allows me to take it outside and sit on the deck when it's over 70 degrees. So I'm not cooped up in this office all the time. Multiple monitors, also very useful. The 3 monitors above my laptop screen that you can see there, I was lucky enough to come to extension with. Some of them were televisions in my kids' rooms. Others were computer monitor when my desktop computer downstairs bit the dust. And I happened to find a 3-monitor mounting bracket at a garage sale in town for $2. So that worked out really well in timing for me. A printer, I still print things to mail out, and also, even though I've had a computer almost my entire life, I still benefit from printing something out and walking around with a pencil to see if I can find any errors. There are multiple times I've tried to do that on the screen, and I just somehow skip over something, but when I have it holding in my hand and a pencil in my hand, I tend to find things a little bit better. Internet. So this is a story. When I started working for Extension, living out here in this small town area, our internet was horrible. It was DSL internet. It was 3 megabits per second download speed, about 20 kilobits per second upload speed. Any instructional videos I was producing for our communities, I would have to create during the day and then upload overnight. And hopefully, by the time I got in the next morning, those videos were completed in their upload process, so I could start the next day and work on another video. We eventually got wireless. And then finally, the wireless company came through and they were running fiber optic down our road and said they would run it to our house at no additional charge. So we took that on. We have a gigabit per second upload and download speed. And what that looks like now is what it took me overnight to upload. Now it takes me about 15 seconds. I timed that. Nancy, who's on here, had a First Friday video that I uploaded on Monday, and that video size would have taken me overnight when I first started here. Doesn't mean you can't do it. If you have bad internet at home, slow internet at home, it just means you have to be creative in your scheduling and your time management. But I'm really so glad that we have the high-speed internet now, because it allows me to do more. My work productivity level is through the roof in that case. K-State's also purchased a hotspot for me in case I do go on the road or in case my internet dies here at home for whatever reason. Cell phone, when I'm on the road for GPS, to check email. I can also use it as a hotspot if needed, and a standing desk. Standing desk is something that I really love. It gives me extra storage underneath my computer so I can go through papers, so I can read through papers or files without messing up or covering my computer screens and monitors. It also allows me to stay active. So I am standing up most of the day, but I do have a chair behind me here. I also have an emergency sports jacket hanging up on the door in case I'm in a t-shirt or something that day and an impromptu meeting comes up. I can just throw that sport jacket on and have that for remote work. But that's my setup, and those are the tools that I use. Again, I just reiterate that clear communication in the beginning when you're starting a project or bringing somebody on to the team brand new in the middle of a project, so everybody understands what's going on, and then using some sort of management tool to manage your time, to set those deadlines, and keep track of those tasks. And there are various tools out there. I just mentioned 3. There are other tools like Monday and plenty of others that I've seen out there. It just depends on what you're comfortable with and how they work for you.
Outstanding, Jan. You talked about the importance of when a new person comes on board or a new team is created. It makes me think of a former colleague of ours, Katie Walker, was a family resource economist over in the what's now College of Health and Human Sciences extension, and she was so committed to that. And whenever we would have an initial gathering, we'd do some sort of get acquainted exercise, an icebreaker, something. I mean, it's essentially building some social capital to start with. After that, email and Zoom and these other technologies tend to work, but it really begins with some relationship building. Any comment or thought about that, or what the importance of that, or alternatives we might try to use for that purpose?
No, I mean it does involve giving the feeling of inclusion. You're including me as part of the team. You're not just letting everybody else continue on with what they were doing and hope I catch up. I've been on teams before where I've received the email communication of here's what we're doing and why, but I think all of us have experienced emails or text messages don't come across the same as actually meeting somebody or talking to somebody, either in person or face to face virtually, like we're doing today. And I think that's super important to at least get that out of the way at the very beginning. And then have opportunities as it goes on to do that. I don't know of any other alternatives, other than the Teams and the Zoom. Some people use Facebook. Facebook Messenger has video, so that's an option as well. A lot of organizations, it'll depend on what their budget is and what they've subscribed to.
Anyone who has questions is free to enter them in the chat or unmute and ask a question. There was some dialogue in the chat, Jan, about miles saved. I mean, think about gas and the time saved in from not commuting long distances or putting the hours in a car. Wear on the highways, Nancy points out. A whole lot of pluses from a societal and individual standpoint from working remotely. Any comments you'd make just about why you enjoy remote work so much?
Yeah, I enjoy it. There's a convenience aspect to it. If one of the kids is sick and stays home, I know I can be here if they need to go to the doctor or something. It also, helps with minor things. If a package is delivered, I can go and bring it in. It is less wear on our personal vehicles. The only wear I have on most days is the carpet, going upstairs. But I really do appreciate that working from home. I can't tell you how many miles I've saved. I wouldn't have this job if I was required to be on the Manhattan campus. But luckily, my administration saw the benefit of having somebody in the central part of the state with quick access to just about anywhere, relatively speaking. Every county has an extension office, so I could office out of Hutchinson or Kingman if I wanted to, or if I needed that personal contact with people. But I find that I have a lot of meetings face to face at communities, sometimes one or two a month. Also, multiple times per week, I'm on a Zoom meeting or a team meeting. So I do get to see people. I do get to chat with people. I'm not 100% isolated. So I think those needs are being filled. I could also go anywhere. If I felt like picking up and going to the coffee shop, I wouldn't have my multiple screens to help me flip through different screens. When I'm doing a grant search, I have the email of the person seeking the search on one screen. I've got the databases in my web browser on another, and I've got my Word document open on one. So it slows me down a little bit, but if I feel like I need to get out somewhere, I can go to a coffee shop or somewhere else, a library or something, and work from there.
Well, Jan, what I hear from employers is that they need talent. And I think that's what K-State has recognized. We need your talent on the team. And so, we make these accommodations so that we can access the talent that we need wherever it might be. So, frankly, having a cell phone that has untethered us from, I remember the days when I was traveling across Kansas and I would stop in a library to check email, respond to emails, and then get on the road again to the next library. And, now to have the flexibility of a cell phone, essentially a computer in your hand, has made a remarkable difference. Trello is one you mentioned, and I know that has been a tool that the remote online initiative classes emphasize. Slack is another communication channel that the remote online initiative utilizes a lot. Any comment about Slack or Teams?
No, I would just say probably it's whatever you have access to your organization. If you're subscribing to it yourself, most of these have free trials that you can sign up and cancel within 5 or 10 days and see if it's something that you're interested in. I go to YouTube when I'm thinking of buying a new piece of software for our home or even something that we're going to use here. I go to YouTube and look at people demonstrate it, see what they like about it, see what they don't like about it. So I can't recommend one over the other. I think they all have good features. They've been around for quite a while, so they've got their fan base and people who really appreciate them. But I do recommend if you don't have something now and you're looking at getting something, definitely check out their website for the free trials and check out YouTube for those reviews and walkthroughs.
Kick the tires and give it a test drive, huh?
Yeah.
There's a comment Deborah posted in chat as a for Christmas, got a portable monitor that connects to her laptop. So even when she's on the road at the coffee shop, at the, XYZ, she can have the multiple screens. People have gone to multiple screens and they say they love it. So there are even options on that front too. Any other comments or questions? I'm not seeing any. Jan, you did a terrific job of covering these tools that you use and very, very helpful. And appreciate learning more about your backstory and your experience. So we'll give Jan a virtual round of applause at the very least here, and appreciate all you do and all you do for us. Much appreciated. If there's no other comments, I want to remind you that in March, we're going to try a little different experiment on Remote Work Wednesday. Actually, think about the interview process. If you're looking to hire a remote or hybrid worker, if you're applying for a remote or hybrid position, what are the types of questions? What are the types of experiences that you need to share? So, we encourage you to join us on March 12, 2025, our next Remote Work Wednesday, where we'll do some practice interviewing in the remote and hybrid sphere. Nancy is posting in the chat that there are some upcoming grant workshops, and we invite you to participate in those. The in-person grant writing workshop is just next week, and there's contact there. And as Deborah says in the chat, please share the word about this interviewing opportunity. If there are others that you work with, you think would benefit from that experience, we invite you to join us. We are going to encourage people to register in advance so that we can schedule and structure that appropriately for everyone's benefit. With that, thanks again to Jan and to all of you for joining us on this snowy Kansas day. We appreciate you being with us, and we encourage you to have a wonderful Remote Work Wednesday. Thanks, Jan and everyone.